Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to another episode of Connect with the Quran. You're here with Najman Sari, and Alhamdulillah, today we will be having a look at Surah Yasin. So before we get into it, I'd love you to listen to a passage, the first few ayahs of it, and then we will take it from there. So Bismillah.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ياسين والقرآن الحكيم إنك لمن المرسلين على صراط مستقيم تنزيل العزيز الرحيم.
Sadaqallahu al-Azim. So those were the first few ayahs of Surah Yasin. And okay, so Bismillah wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulillah. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa ahlul uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. Rabbi yassir wa la tu'assir wa tammim bil khair ya fattahu ya lima wa bika nasta'in. I pray that I'm able to just express a bit of it's loaded with goodness, the surahs, they all are, and I just pray that Allah gives me just enough words to be able to create a love for the Quran so that you might want to take it further and read for yourself. So here we are on Surah Yasin. Quickly, I just want to connect you. We ended off on Surah Fatir, which wasn't a long ayah. It was only 45 ayahs long. And at the end, Allah said that if He were to punish people according to what they deserve, the people, there won't be a single living creature on earth. So give them respite and let them be. And this concept of respite reoccurs again and again in the Quran about how, like letting the leash out to the dog and then yanking him and so on. So here, the beautiful thing, a few things I want to cover up. I want to try and give you an overview of the ayahs, that from here to here it's this much, from here to here it's this is what it's talking about, and so on. But the beauty is that overall, I'm just going to select out of those passages just one or two snippets. So let me see if I can do justice to both, just to give you some background. It's nice to get overviews of it. So here in the surah, that what I want to pick up of is that the surah is divided, like I usually like to give you, from 1 to 13 is just a general thing. It's how Allah gives this Quran to admonish people, and how He records their deeds, and He's enough for them, and if they don't listen, they don't listen, but that's it. But He said, don't worry about such unworried people, and just give the glad tidings to the good people. This is the first passage, and I'll just come back to it for a bit. And then it goes on to give you the story from 13 to 32 about this parable of the story, and I'm going to get into that too, inshallah, about the people of the companions of a city, and they came to messengers and they didn't listen. They were strengthened with a third one and they didn't even listen. And then there was a man who came from Min Aqsal Madinah. They're telling them, please, why don't you believe? He's a good person, and so on. And ultimately the city was destroyed, and this person was shaheed. And then there's a beautiful passage of him, what he quotes from the Akhirah. Oh, I wish my people knew where I am, giving you a snippet, like it's like a screenshot of present, what the future holds or what the past came up with. Then from 23 to 24, there's another passage, and and this is also beautiful because it keeps talking about وَآيَاتٍ لَهُمُ الْأَرْضِ. This is an ayah of the earth. That is the ayah, and we'll try and get into that also up to 40. From 45, it said, the people who are warned of Allah's punishment and they don't believe it, and they're not interested in taking heed of it. So what is their lot also? So that's what comes up in that bit between between 45 to 50. And then in 50, from 51 to 65, it's a passage about from Akhirah, when people are taken out of their graves, and the disbelievers will say, who woke us up from our repose? And that's also a significance, a little bit on that. And then from 66 to 68, it is, you've been given these blessings about hearing, sight, your intellect, and then you don't appreciate it. So a lot on gratitude there. And then it goes towards the end, 69 to 83, we come back to the passage of where to link back to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that don't you worry, in this closing, the signs of Tawheed, Risala are there, and those who don't take heed, well, then they are morally dead. Anyway, you just work with the ones who will take heed. Now coming back to Bismillah, on Surah Yasin, as it starts with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Yasin wal Quran al-Hakim. I just want to, and I'm taking this straight from the heart, I'm not sort of reading out snippets of something, and that's what I would love you to do also, is what stays with you. Because we can make notes and notes till we're blue in the face, and then when the time comes, it's like we don't really know. So the beauty is, whatever little resonates for you, you share it, it will consolidate it for yourself. And what I've liked about this Hakim has a couple of meanings, and I'm just saying it wrote from me. It is from Hukam, which means it gives directive. And this is in a Makki face surah, that Allah is so strongly telling the Quraysh, and this is being revealed in that time, this is a hukum. These are directives you need to be following. So there's no apology, no sugarcoating it, no being politically correct of how you give the message. The Rasul is told, this is it. It's a Hakim, this Quran is. So it is with hukum, it's full of wisdom. And a third meaning of which resonated for me a lot of Hakim is something that is very well knit, very well put together. So this whole Quran, it came down as an audio, not as a written form, as a spoken word from Jibreel alayhi salam to Rasul, and yet now that it's put together in the Quran, in a book, a kitab form, compiled, you don't miss around verses here where they were placed and were told from Rasulullah that this goes here and this goes here, and he was told from Jibreel alayhi salam where they fit as they were coming down. It is perfectly put together. So we can go on and on about the beauty of the Quran, of how it's compiled and how it makes sense all through it. But that is the main thing on there. The ayah 9, when it says وَجَعَلْنَا مِنْ بَيْنِ أَيْدِيهِمْ سَدًّا وَمِنْ خَلْفِهِمْ سَدًّا فَأَغْشَيْنَاهُمْ فَهُمْ لَا يُبْصِرُونَ. That ayah is also beautiful in that you may have heard it, you may not have heard it, but we recommend it, which what means is that we put a bar in front of them, the disbelievers, and behind them, and they won't be able to see. So many people like to use it when they're in trouble, held up by the cops or at any sort of bureaucracy level. You say, read this on it, and you will be let go. So Allah Alam, it's not from a hadith, it's not for anything, but this is, it's sort of come down as something to use. If that helps you memorize those surah, memorize that passage of the surah, or that thing, it's always good. So, we talk about it's a weak hadith and it's this hadith. Yes, by all means, there are those situations that exist about surahs, but if it is a motivation to you to connect with the Quran, why do we have to dismiss everything that because at my ego level it doesn't agree with me? So like we're told about, there's so much more that is out there on it, but I'm just picking out on the things that I want to share, which are really at level 101 of if you can take even Yasin is a beautiful surah for this reason, and what is the meaning of Hakim. Here, from the passage from 13 onwards, where it's the story of the city and how the messengers were sent. They didn't listen to them. A third one was sent. A couple of things. The way they said the disbelievers are telling the messengers, "Oh, we think you're bringing good omen," and it's like no. And this people often say they blame us for their whatever, and he says no, your evil omens are for yourself. And if you are admonished, I mean, what kind of crazy people are you that you think it's an evil omen? And then when it comes to this وجاء من أقصى المدينة رجل يسعى قال يا قوم اتبعوا المرسلين. Oh, my people, obey these messengers. They're only telling you for what is good for them. And the fact that he comes, they say running, yasa is what we do at say. It's with an effort you're running up and down. So, and then he says, obey them for those who don't want no reward. This concept comes again and again whenever Saleh alayhi salam said to the Samud, Hud alayhi salam said to the people of Ad, and so on, that they don't, we don't want any reward. Our reward is with Allah. So this man is telling them, and he said, it wouldn't be reasonable for me, and he even gives them more logic. So the beauty as an extrapolation, what they give from here, while the Rasul are giving the message, they're not listening. This person comes and he gives it in his layman language of the logic of why you should believe. And even then they don't take it in for them. So then what happens is that he is made shaheed, and then he says the next ayah, it's like this transition from 25 to 26 immediately. He says, قِيلَ ادْخُلُوا الْجَنَّةَ قَالَ يَا لَيْتَ قَوْمِي يَعْلَمُونَ. Oh, if my people knew of how my Lord has granted me forgiveness and enrolled him. The beautiful thing I really want to bring home from here, this person, he hasn't got a name here. We know nothing of, well, from extrapolations they have said he might be a carpenter, he might be from there and so on, and given him a name. But in essence, the beauty of the Quran and the beauty, you can be nameless. So no name is such a good thing. Never want to be about fame, but he is the best person up there in heaven. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a pause on there. It's just the first story, and there's so much, and I think I'm really going to go Speedy Gonzales to try and just look at a few other beautiful snippets from this surah. But I hope that's encouragement enough for you to want to look at it for yourself. So we're taking a pause, and then I'll come back. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن أصحاب الجنة اليوم في شغل فاكهون هم وأزواجهم في ظلال على الأرائك متكئون لهم فيها فاكهة ولهم ما يدعون.
Welcome back. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. And we were looking at Surah Yasin, and I just covered the very first story about. So for me, the take home is have an inkling of what Hakim means, have an inkling of the concept of being a person with no name, and yet he's honored in Jannah. Here in the third story, I love this passage also, which is all the way from, I think, 13, from 13, no, that was the first one. The second passage is from 23 to 44, in which we talked about the signs. I think I've got it. No, it's from 33, about the signs of Allah in the universe. And it's from 33 onwards. And they're beautiful about day and night, about sun and moon, and about all of those things. But we've done enough of the signs. When people talk about, oh, well, prove it, there's Allah, this and that, Burhan. The whole universe is talking to you. Don't you see the footprints of signs of what Allah has created from that? So essentially, I'm not going to belabor that, but it's beautiful. The one they talked about, the ark, one of the signs is there, and we made similar ships for today. What for me was, and we could have drowned them, and there would have been no helpers. There in a tafsir I read, you could even look at it how with ships, no, with air travel and everything, and how many of us kids go overseas to study away from our parents, and we're in this new place in a new. So that's what they drew from the corollary of from the ship of Nuh alayhi salam, the ark, and it implied that you don't know if you're going to make it back home. You don't know if you're going to conk off there or any of that. So it's these kind of extrapolations to make it worth for you to look at it. How does the ship talking about Nuh alayhi salam is relevant to what I am doing? So that is another bit there. And then and then all these sides are there. So another take-home message is gratitude. We read Yasin for the departed people and so on, but it's really also for the living. Take heed from all those things while you're alive and be in gratitude. Then further on, when it goes about talking about the punishment and how people are going to save themselves and so on, and it's like they won't have any chance to return the people, because when the blast, now we're always saying, when is it going to happen? When's it going to happen? When's it, but when it happens, it's going to be in an instant. And inshallah, now for us to take home is also whatever has happened in Palestine is to, it's going on for 7 months, for however many months, and now when is it going to, but when it happens, it will be no more. And then what was all these oppressors, and they're no longer there, we're going to say, that seems like a bad dream as well. So that's what we need to hope. So it's going to be, they won't have any chance to return to their people. And from 51, when it says, when the trumpet is blown and they're coming out of their qabrs, and it will be a single blast and they'll be back up. And they said, and no soul will be wronged in the least. Then from 55 onwards, when it talks about the good people, and that's also a lovely thing, is they are saying that what's it called? They will be. What is it? Inna ashab al jannatil yawmal fi shughulin fakihun. They'll be having a good time with their companions. Shughul is being busy with activity, and because it's talking about Jannah, it's good activity. They and their associates will be given cool shade and reclining on thrones. Every fruit they will have, and then the beautiful passage, which again there's a refrain reoccurs in the Quran, is it will be said to them, Salamun qawlun min Rabbir Rahim. That salam will be it's in a passive form, will be what is said to them from your Rabb. And then from 59 again, it goes back to the kuffar, and it says, Wamtazul yawma ayyuhal mujrimun. I like that Wamtazul. It comes from the word imtiaz, to separate. We also have the name mumtaz from that word, but this is the only time it occurs in the Quran, and it is to separate. The good guys will be given salam. In Surah Araf, we had those people standing on the heights, and they're hopeful for Jannah, but they're not, so they're still hanging there. Here, it's very clearly delineating that you from the sin. And did I not enjoin on you, O children of Adam, not to worship the Satan and to worship me? But he led many of you astray. So now today, that's where you need to be. So then from 66, when it talks about we got to blotted out their eyes, their hearing, and they would be groping, link it back to where Surah in Baqarah we were talking, when there's no light, they stop. And when there's a flicker of life, they move. Talking about the hypocrite said, there is no basis, there's no inner compass for them to guide them to the straight place. And we could have transformed them, and they couldn't move, and we cause long life to any, we cause him to reverse in nature. This passage also comes about 2 or 3, just maybe 2 times in the Quran, about how Allah, after knowing much, you come back to being in old age, whether it's Alzheimer's, whether it is dementia, and after knowing much, you know very little. So again, a wake-up call of how Allah is able to just tell you everything. And then this is a beautiful passage I want to just spend 2 minutes on, is about the poetry, that we have not instructed you in poetry. Sherun wama yanbaghi lah, and that this is no less than a message of Quran, making it clear. So highlighting the Quran is not poetry. And so a beautiful saying around this is Abu Bakr Siddiq instead was very knowledgeable on lineage, on everybody's yeah, ancestry and everything. He was very well informed on a lot of these issues. And so too, he knew about poetry. So at one time, the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was quoting somebody who maybe had said something in a fancy poetic way. And when he reported that to Abu Bakr Siddiq, he said, he reversed the order. So Abu Bakr Siddiq smiled and he said, no, that's not what he said. He said it this way, so in order to keep the rhythm going. And so Rasulullah says, well, what's the difference whether I said it this way or this way? And he says, that just proves you know nothing about poetry, of the nuanced poetry thing. So I'm just bringing it in that there are also in the time of Sahaba with a verse like this, it just proves it. It isn't poetry, and we didn't instruct you in poetry at all. So you are there to give people the one who is alive, if any is alive, and you can help them. So, when we talk about, if it's in a taqdeer, if it's this, no, it has to be in you. If you're awake, you're going to take heed. If you're not awake, mentally dead, then nothing's going to work for you. So now don't blame somebody else. Oh, but it wasn't my taqdeer. You yourself have to have that inkling in you to want to be searching, to want to be knowing. And so why is it that there are masses and masses of people coming to Islam? Something that's happening in Palestine resonates them for about fairness and unfairness and seeing that, and that's why they come. Nobody's doing dawah these days around in Palestine. Nobody in Palestine is going around telling the non-Muslims within the Palestinian community also whether that to do dawah, but it's in the action that it speaks louder than words. So if we can also be there, later it talks about Judgment Day again, and then back towards the end about, and that's the beautiful thing, and I'm just going to take it right there before my time's up, is إِنَّمَا أَمَرُهُ إِذَا أَرَدَ شَيْءٍ أَن يَقُولُ لَهُ كُن فَيَكُونُ. Be and it is. Alhamdulillah, even in English, from the biblical background, we also have the same concept of be and it is. So now whether that's a big bang, whether it's anything, that's how it is for Allah. As the asbab, you also take the longer passage, the 9 months in the womb, the this of everything growing, how the earth grows, it becomes green, beautiful, lush green, and then it falls down again, and then we start again, the dead earth. So all these are examples to keep giving you an inkling of how the one who takes heed will take heed. So for my take-home message also, beyond remembering what Hakim is, remembering what the person with no name is, remembering the fact that you need to be in gratitude when you see and hear about the sign, what happens, about giving you all these blessings, and you go back into old age with direct references referring to the disbelievers about giving them intellect and everything. They're warned, and it's not difficult for Allah to also disfigure you. It's a blessing. Just one thing that you don't have one of these senses, and how challenged it becomes, life becomes. And so at the end, again, back to this is how it wraps up. And then it says, as the beautiful last ayah, for Subhanallazi biyadihi malakuti kulla shayin wa ilayhi turja'un, that everything goes back to Allah, everything. And that is the beauty, that is gives us solace, that whatever is happening, the oppression, the suppression, it's going to go back to Allah. Just be rest assured. And that is something that really, really needs to give us so much solace. So that is in a nutshell the surah. What I want you to take home is learn Arabic. I want you to take home, read beautiful tafsirs that you know of. I want you to take home, if you know nothing, and this is the beauty, just dwell and ponder your eyes on it, and listen and look at it, and then you will know that Allah is there, and Ya Allah, you guide me and give me openings. And Allah gives openings. Just as it's easy to take away the sight and everything else, so it is easy for Him to open your hearts and souls, yours, mine, everything. And I just pray that whatever has been said is of value, and there are some take-homes to take from this beautiful, beautiful surah. They're all beautiful, but this is considered the heart of the Quran. So I pray it will be of some value. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun, wa salamun al mursaleen, walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ha ha ha.